I am Vinnie Tortorich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. Because I was in the deep south. And when I say deep south, I'm talking about the deep south. I was down there, folks. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. We bring in one Mr. Chris Shaffer. Yeah, there he is. There he is. Jimmy Buffett. Look, if you grew up the way I did in Louisiana, you grew up with Jimmy Buffett, right? And boy, did I. And, you know, I was driving, I drove down from Virginia, went on through to, how you say, I guess the first place
Tennessee.
you get to Tennessee, and before you know it, you end up in a little touch of Georgia, just a touch. And then before you know it, you are somewhere in Alabama, and then Mississippi, and you start seeing words like Pascagoula, Mississippi. And when you see Pascagoula, you think Jimmy Buffett, because that's, in fact, where he was from. Guy had an incredible life. Yeah, it's an amazing thing, right? And we're going to be talking about this. And I just played Cheeseburger in Paradise, and it's kind of strange when you think about what he says in that song. And I might go back and play the beginning of that song again so that you guys can hear what he's saying, because he's talking about giving up meat and trying to eat everything else. But just to talk about Jimmy for a second, we knew about him in the South before anyone else knew about him. The guy, I don't think he's ever won a Grammy. Chris, you might want to look this up while I'm talking about him. Maybe one or two Grammy Awards, but I can't imagine that he's won more than that. I mean, the guy wrote songs like "Why Don't We Get Drunk and Screw," so you're not going to win a Grammy for that. Margaritaville, probably his most famous song. Cheeseburger in Paradise was up there with his famous songs. And at some point, he became a national treasure, right? The guy, I think he's one of the few artists that won a Grammy and made the New York Times bestseller list in every category you can as a writer, like fiction, nonfiction, autobiography, you name it. He's done it. So when people go, "Oh, Jimmy Buffett, what a goof." No, the guy did a lot in his life. And if you knew where he came from, you would go, "Whoa, you can come from anywhere in this nation and make it." And boy, did he do that in spades. Did he win? I'm guessing he won one or two Grammys, right? Right, Chris?
Take a guess at when. So he has 2 Grammys. Take a guess at when he got them.
I'm going to just go ahead and guess that, since you're bringing that up, I'm going to say lifetime achievement or postmortem.
No, 2004, 2005, both with Alan Jackson.
Really?
So he got for It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere. He was a nominee. He's never won, like from what I can find.
Yeah, go on.
And then the only other time he was nominated was Hey Good Lookin', which is Kenny Chesney, Alan Jackson, Toby Keith, George Strait. And I don't even think they won that one, from what I can see.
That's amazing. Like I said, he might have won one or none, but that just goes to show you how fucked up the Grammys are. I mean, the song "Come Monday." I mean, please, the
first
song "Come Monday," right?
First award he ever won, Vinny, was 2003. He won a CMA award for 5 O'Clock Somewhere with Alan Jackson.
Okay,
so you have to record something with Alan Jackson to even get nominated, apparently, if you're Jimmy Buffett.
Now, ask me who amassed more money in their life, Alan Jackson or Jimmy Buffett?
I'm going with Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy's probably died worth $1 billion easily. The guy had his own planes, right? I mean, the guy was not hurting for cash, right? I guarantee.
More importantly, how many margarita machines has Alan Jackson sold? I don't think I don't think Alan Jackson has his own line of margarita machines or his own restaurants, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. And, Jimmy had Margaritaville restaurants. You name
And
it.
the Cheeseburger in Paradise chain.
Yeah. The guy was a money-making machine. Now, I know what you're sitting there going, oh, come on, money's not everything. This guy started off like literally being passed around from relative to relative, as far as I can remember. He was like he wrote about something, like you would hear Mobile in his songs. He was in Mobile for a while, and he was here and there. As you could tell, I'm a big Jimmy Buffett fan.
Are you a parrot head?
I am a parrot head, yes. And I'm one of the few people, I might be the only person that went to several Jimmy Buffett concerts sober, not drinking at all. Because I didn't have a drink until after my 36th birthday. So all of the Jimmy Buffett concerts I went to before that. Now, I probably got a pretty good contact high at the concert, because I would get
That's
off.
kind of like going to a Dead concert sober. You might go sober, but you're not necessarily leaving sober, even if you don't take anything.
Yeah, it was something else. But Cheeseburger in Paradise. Now, listen to Chris. We're going to play it again for the audience. I'm going to try to start it at right at 6 or 7 seconds, because that's when they come in. Now, folks, pay attention to what he's saying. Now, find out what year Cheeseburger in Paradise came out. It had to be late 70s. Is what I'm saying. Okay, 78. So this is what we were talking about in 1978. This was health and diet advice, which you'll notice is the same kind of crap that's being spewed today. So pay attention to the lyrics at the beginning of this. Try to amend my carnivorous habits. Right there, Chris. Hey, meat is not good for you. If you think this started 5 minutes ago, think again. He's trying to get meat out of his diet, right? He made it nearly 70 days, which is just over 2 months. Let's go on. He's trying to amend his meat eating habit, as if that's a habit, right? Here we go. Okay. Basically, he's gone vegan. He's drinking carrot juice, which, by the way, carrot juice and a glass of sugar water, it's about even. About even. Chris, while I'm playing this, can you look up carrot juice and let me know how much sugar is in an 8-ounce glass of carrot juice, please?
I was going to say, one of those, the biggest difference is one of those will turn you orange if you drink too much of it. The other one will just make you fat.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll play on while you're looking up the carrot juice thing. So
20 grams of carbs.
20 grams of carbs and 8 ounces, right?
Yep.
So, okay, if you do the math, if you add another 4 ounces, we're looking at close to 30 grams of carbs.
Yeah, because you'd be taking half.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it'd be 30 on the nose. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that's 12 ounces would be 30 grams of carbs, right?
Yeah.
How much, let's just let the audience, let that soak in for a second while Chris tell us how much sugar is in a can of Coke.
So 12 ounces of carrot juice. Let me see if I can find the sugar there rather than just the total carb. Well, I guess we can just do total carbs to total carbs, right?
Yeah, why not? Carbs are carbs. Liquid carbs is liquid carbs.
39.
Okay. So there's 39 in a Coke.
And 30 in carrot juice.
You letting that sink in, folks? You good? We're good? You're close to a 12-ounce Coke by doing what most people will tell you is the right thing to do. Well, Vinnie, can I eat a carrot? Absolutely, you can. Absolutely. Because you're getting very little sugar in one carrot. And there's a bunch of fiber to help you suspend that sugar for a while. And there's a little water in there. So eating a carrot, not a problem. When you got to grind up a bunch of them to get all the juice out, to get to 12 ounces, you could have just gone ahead and popped that Coca-Cola. The only difference is you get some phytonutrients from the carrot.
And
Go
3.3 grams of protein, Vinny.
from carrots?
According to this nutritional calculator that I'm looking at,
All right.
you would be getting about 33 grams of total carbohydrates. 13, almost 14 of those they're listing as straight sugar. I'm not sure how they're differentiating that.
Mm-hmm.
3 grams of protein and basically nothing other than 300 times your daily dose of vitamin A.
Now, let me take that
A
a
little
step
bit of C.
further. People are going to go, an egg only has 6 grams of protein, double that, right? I would push back and go, the difference is an egg has every amino acid that you need for every cell in your body. Vegetable protein is not like when people go, oh, I take pea protein. I'm guaranteeing you that the protein from a carrot is not equal to the protein in an egg or in the red meat that he's now given up. Okay? Are we clear? It's not the same protein, not even close.
Yeah, they have no methionine or lysine.
No lysine. There you go. Everybody needs a lysine, Chris.
But they do have lots of tryptophan. So, there's that.
According to every local news I've ever seen right around Thanksgiving time, that's going to make you go sleepy poo. Okay, you ready? Let's continue on with what we were thinking in 1978. Not zucchini, fettuccine. So now let's think about Jimmy's diet. He's having sunflower seeds. Okay, probably the healthiest thing he said so far. Now, sunflower seed oil is a carcinogen, but sunflower seeds, you go, what's the difference, Vinny? They extract it and then they have to do a bunch of chemical processes. You might as well put it in your sewing machine or use it as gun oil. Just don't put it in your body. Okay. So sunflowers is about the healthiest thing. I can make an argument that a carrot, if he ate a carrot, would be healthy, but he didn't eat a carrot. He drank carrot juice, not healthy, glass full of sugar. Now he's going to really get that glycogen load going with zucchini fettuccine. Okay. These are all the things he's doing so that he doesn't eat a piece of meat. Okay. Let's keep listening to Mr. Buffett. Now, by the way,
Before we do that, Vinny,
go on.
I caught something in the first verse that I never put together listening to it this way. He says losing weight without speed. Is he talking about actually taking drugs like fen-phen? I guess it wouldn't be fen-phen in the 70s, but whatever.
Yeah. Look, Jimmy Buffett does not hold back on talking about, using drugs in his songs, right? Losing weight without speed. Back then, guys I played high school football and college football with were taking all kinds of speed. Like one was called a blue and clear. I don't know what these things were. I never took a drug, but a lot of guys would take blue and clears. We called them puppy uppers and doggy downers, right? There were all kinds of speed that you can take back then. They were on the market. Doctors were handing these things out, and guys would get them, illegally. Speed and cocaine was a thing, a big thing back then. And athletes were all into it, big time. Since I was always the nerdy athlete, there was a lot of guys like me. Not all athletes took speed. There was a book that came out in the mid 80s talking about how much speed John F. Kennedy, not Junior, the one during the Bay of Pigs and all that was going on. The guy was just racked out on speed the whole time. John F. Kennedy would speed it up during the day, and when he was ready to go to bed at night, would take Quaaludes. That's been documented in book after book. And taking speed, look, doctors used to give it to mommies staying at home. Hey, Saturday Night Live did a thing, did a whole deal on it back in the 70s. Mommy's taking puppy uppers And then when it's time to go to sleep, doggy downers, right? Quaaludes were a huge thing when I was in college. 752, that's what was written on a Quaalude. There's a song, I want to say Rick James, he would say at 752, I'll be waiting, in the song Super Freak. 752 is the number written on the Quaalude. Look that up, Chris, and see if I'm making that up. Because sometimes I get my facts, because I never took drugs. But being an athlete and being, back in my day, college athletes were like
714.
740. What did I say? 715?
752, I think. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That lets you know how big of a nerd I was. I didn't even know the fucking number. I knew it was 7 something. But yeah, Quaaludes were a big thing, because if you took speed all day, you had to do something to go to bed at night. Some of the guys would do marijuana to go to bed. Other guys would do Quaaludes, right? But that was the 70s and 80s. And taking speed to lose weight was a thing. Women would go to doctors and get the shot. Like, yeah, I go to my doctor and get the shot. You want to know what the shot was? One of the shots was speed. The other shot was the urine of a pregnant horse, known as gonadotropin. Look it up. See, folks, if you think I came into this weight loss game 5 minutes ago, think again. I had clients back in the 80s when I was in New Orleans, all of these rich women who were really thin. You could see every rib. They wanted their clavicles to show when they wore those straps and the whole thing. They wanted the clavicles to stick out. That meant you had money. You were lean. Your face was like, you could see your jawline. You could see the muscles in your jaw. That's the way society women looked back in the 70s and 80s when I was training these women. And they would do whatever they could to get there. There was a drug called gonadotropin. Chris, did you find it yet? It's a steroid. It's it was derived from the urine of a pregnant horse, right? And then I think they started making it synthetically at some point. You would take this drug and it would help you lose weight. So if you think all of these GLP-1s and all of this is some kind of this is brand new. Women were taking a shot in the 70s and 80s. You didn't realize I could pull all of this from a Jimmy Buffett song, did you, Chris?
Just pulling it back out. Well, that's why I brought it up, because just looking at this, it's just proof yet again that there's nothing new under the sun, right? Like whether it's speed or GLP-1s or whatever the next thing is that comes along, nothing is different. It's just the same stuff 40 years later, 50 years later. Almost.
Look, I mean, I talked about this in my book, Fitness Confidential. When I first got interested in losing the fat that I had gained after football, I went to the girls at the sorority because they were like aces at, losing weight. And I said, hey, what do you girls do to lose weight? And they go, we do Diet Coke. I went, oh, you drink Diet Coke? They went, no, we take Coke. That's our diet. We call it Diet Coke. They were snorting cocaine, right? That's the early.
That's a Coke diet, not a Diet Coke.
Yeah, but they called it Diet Coke because they if they wanted to lose weight, they would just do Coke. And when you go to a school like Tulane, you got a bunch of rich girls from Great Neck, Long Island, and Shaker Heights, and Miami showing up, spending daddy's money. They got money to kill, man. Drugs were rampant. Cocaine was everywhere. Everywhere. A lot of football players used it, right? Coke was everywhere. That's how they would lose weight. Sounds healthy. Now you think about it and go, I can't believe people took speed and cocaine and all that to lose weight. We're going to be looking at GLP-1s the same way, folks. 20 years from now, I won't be alive. I'm going to be out of here. Or if I'm alive, I'm going to be close to death. I certainly won't be doing a podcast. And if I am, Chris, kill me. But I could tell you this. We will look at GLP-1s the same way we're kind of shaking our heads at drugs right now going, wait, people did Coke. They called it Diet Coke. Girls in college, 19, 20, 21. Yes, they had the cash to do it, and the drug dealers knew it.
Every decade has its own version of that, right? You had the Coke diet, then you had Fen, then you had what was the early 2000s one, Vinny, that they sold in Walmart as a weight loss pill? It had like 500 milligrams of caffeine in it.
Was that Dexatrim or one of those?
One of those, yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. They would go, yeah, we take Dexatrim, we drink Tab, and we blow Coke. You know, that was we always think druggies are like strung out on the street. No, girls in college just trying to be thin because that was the rule of the day. By the way,
Hydroxycut.
Hydroxycut, yeah, they had to take that off of the market. The FDA finally had to get that off the market because people were dying from it, just dropping dead. Literally, cocaine was safer than Hydroxycut. I'm not making that up, right? Fen, you brought up Fen. That was phenol something and Pondamin put together. Pondamin would make you feel like you were full, and the phenol, whatever, was speed. Unfortunately, if you weighed 350 pounds and your heart was weak and you took it, you died. Fen was pulled off the market because people were dropping dead. And doctors were handing it out like candy. The same way they're handing out GLP-1s right now. Right?
Ephedra. That's what was in Hydroxycut.
Yeah, ephedra. Yeah.
And a metric shitload of caffeine, which, let's take two stimulants and put them together because that's a better idea than just one.
The only beauty behind the GLP-1s is that they're not doing it with a stimulant. They're just slowing down your digestion so much that you feel nauseous and you don't want to eat. It's crazy. What we're doing is crazy. It's nuts, but we're doing it. No problem. Nothing to see here, right? We don't want to do the thing you're supposed to be doing. That's not sexy. It's just not sexy. Here, let's go back to Jimmy and see what else. Losing weight without speed, eating sunflower seeds, drinking a lot of carrot juice, and soaking up rays. At night, I have these wonderful dreams. Zucchini fettuccine, Now we're going to pick up from there. It's funny how, when you go to the Jimmy Buffett concert, you got to sing all the songs. You sing along with them. All right, let's go. Yeah, about the healthiest thing he said in there is Habanas, which is Cuban cigars. At least you get, by the way, folks, don't smoke cigars, but that's about the healthiest thing in the song so far.
Havanas, bananas, or daiquiri. Well, the single slice of onion, I think is okay, right? We can deal with that. And then the cheeseburger by itself.
I'm a huge onion fan. I am a big onion fan. I eat white onions. Ladies, it's a good thing you don't date me because, I eat a lot of onions. But I found one woman to put up with me. We'll leave the song right there. But that's what we're talking about. Mr. Jimmy Buffett, folks. And who knew that we could do a half a show based on that? Chris, you know what we have? We have a company that sells vitamins.
We do.
Did you know that?
I did. I don't know if everybody listening knew that, but I knew that.
Yeah, well, look, people ask me all the time. They'll go, how do you feel about vitamins? It's like, what do you mean, how do I feel about them? I have a company that sells vitamins. And I'm just going to put it like it is. We were having a problem for a while. We really were. We had supply chain breaks. And then we had an employee that was running a company that just went nuts, bibbly nuts. And, I can't say it any other way. And the only reason I bring that up is because he's online yelling about, just yelling into a void. So I just have to let people know that I'm not associated with that in any way, shape, or form. Right. because I don't believe in doing politics, but I do believe in helping people and selling them the best vitamins on the market. Now, I'm not just saying that because I make this vitamin or these vitamins. I'm saying it because I started this company because I couldn't find a good vitamin for myself, period. PureVitaminClub.com, folks. Go there right now. PureVitaminClub.com and get the best vitamins on the planet. You know what? I found this the other day and I've forgotten all about this. I got this card in the mail a couple of years ago.
Oh, there you go.
And I got this from, I don't want to show the mom because she might not want to. I'll show the kid. This is Andrew Fiducia. See Andrew there?
Is that Andrew the water boy, Andrew?
That's Andrew the water boy. You remember the story, Chris?
I do. I remember sending him product.
You're looking at the product in his hand, right? So I'll explain to the audience who Andrew is. Andrew, I met his dad when we were in high school. You know, there are camps out there, athletic camps, where they send kids like me and his dad, like really good athletes. And if you ever saw the documentary Hoop Dreams, they send you to these camps so that coaches in college could come and coach at these camps and legally talk to you because, hey, they're just coaching at these camps.
As long as it's after the summer of your sophomore year. At the camps, they can talk to you by not talking to you, right?
Yeah, they just happen to be coaching at a camp that they gave you a free trip to go to, right? That's why I went to
we happen to run this football camp. It might be interesting to talk to you when we're legally allowed to talk to you.
It's so mafioso. It's so mafioso.
Why do we even have that? Like, NCAA athletes can get paid now. Can we skip the joke that is this system? You and I have talked about one of my friends whose daughter just entered the college recruiting process. And she had the same exact thing. She would go to camp freshman year or sophomore year, and they'd be like, keep an eye out. You know, that summer after your sophomore year, we might be talking to you, right? It's like, we might talk to you in the future.
It was so ridiculous. Back in the 80s, they literally got us, well, they called these girls ambassadors. So whenever you went to a college, there was a girl that would show you around for that weekend or that week, you know, that you were able to go on so many visits, right? And the girl happened to be pretty hot and she seemed to be way into you, right? And there was sex involved. There was sexual favors. I'm not going to lie. And that, you know, it's like, yeah, I took every trip I could. I'm just being honest. That's the world. That was okay. But, you know, they couldn't talk to you about anything else, right? But they got you girls. Because
God forbid you mention that there might be a scholarship 2 years from now.
Right. Well, no, they would only bring you when they got serious about you, like your senior year, whenever, right before signing it on those trips. That's when the girls would start showing up. At any rate, I ran into Mike Fiducia at one of those camps, sporting camps in the summer. And when I got to Tulane, Mike was a year or two ahead of me. He was a junior when I got there as a freshman. We were already instant friends. And we ended up living together. Like, you know, we became dorm mates because we were very close. Well, Mike has this wonderful son, Andrew. And Andrew has special needs. He's a special needs kid. I don't know which words to use anymore. Am I saying that correctly, Chris? Or am I using the wrong word?
Yeah, if you're not sure of the exact diagnosis, that's usually a safe.
So Andrew has special needs, but he's a big sports fan. And loves football, loves baseball, just loves it all, and really loves his dad, and knew his dad was a great athlete and the whole thing. But for reasons, because of who he is, he couldn't play sports. So Andrew went about becoming the best water boy you could possibly be. And he was the water boy of a championship football team, a 5A school down in Florida, where football is taken. Some of these schools, Chris, can beat.
Vinny, explain 5A athletics to people. Because if you're not from Texas or Florida, you probably don't understand that it's the equivalent of a mega church for religion, right? Like 5A is ridiculous.
Friday Night Lights, folks. That's the best way I can put it. So 5A, some 5A teams can probably beat Division II football teams, or at least be in the game. I'm not making it up, right? So he's the head hydration specialist, as they were calling Andrew, for a 5A team, and it's down in Florida where it gets really hot. And Andrew's players started cramping up. And the coaches were, they weren't blaming this on Andrew. Andrew had nothing to do with it. He's just a kid handing out water. But Andrew felt like it was his fault that the players were cramping up. So Mike, his dad, calls me and goes, Vin, look, you know something about cramps and this and that and the whole thing. Is there any? I said, Mike, I'm calling my guy Chris, and we're sending you guys cases. I'm sending cases of Ultrasalt down to this team. He goes, oh, I'll pay for it. I say, no, it's on me. I want Andrew to be a hero. Andrew shows up. Mike vouches for it with the high school. They respect Mike. He was a Division I football player. Andrew shows up with these cases of Ultrasalt. They start dousing these kids with Ultrasalt and water. Guess what never happens for the rest of the season? Not one cramp, right? So I got this letter. You can see it. It's written as only Andrew can write it, in big, giant, chunky letters. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Right there. And it says, Mr. Vinnie, as student trainer, I appreciate the awesome gift. I need to keep the players hydrated. Thank you, Andrew. And Andrew did all of that. Here's the photo again with all of the Ultrasalt. Well, not all of it. We sent them tons, right, Chris? We sent enough for a 5A school to go a whole
For
season.
For a 5A football team.
And that's Andrew holding a tray of it. Very proud. Love this kid, by the way. Love this kid. And that's one of our heroic stories when it comes to Ultrasalt. So go check out purevitaminclub.com. That was a long way of doing an ad, but I wanted to talk about my boy Andrew, man. He is the man, right?
He's great.
Yeah.
Dude, now you got me thinking, who was it? Was it De La Salle, that team out of California that was undefeated for like 14 years in a row?
Yeah,
whatever?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Right. They would be in Texas, they would be like a 3A school.
Yeah.
Right? Like some of the places in Texas, just look up, if you guys get bored this afternoon and you want to see how ridiculous some of these places is, McAllen School District and McAllen High School and some of their training facilities. Vinny, you mentioned they could probably beat some Division II college teams.
Yeah.
I would argue their training facilities are better than most colleges. Not your Big Tens or your, like not your major college football powers, but most colleges do not have weight rooms that look like McAllen High School. It's insane.
Yeah. I played AA football in Louisiana, and I played in a section of Louisiana in AA ball where more college scholarships came out of that district than anywhere else, this AA district. And I mean, a lot of guys played in the pros, right? A lot of us made it to college, Division I schools. And the ones that didn't go Division I, if they wanted to go to college, they had Division II scholarships everywhere. Outside of district, so district was 5 games or 6 games. The other 4 games we played were playing quad A schools, right? These big giant schools, and we would win. I mean, Ascension Catholic had a tradition. I think they went down to single A because the school got so small after a while in numbers. When you have a winning tradition, you have a winning tradition, right? Tradition just goes on, and you know that's the kind of team I play. I was very lucky to play for a small school with a big time winning tradition. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's not, football down there. The late great Andy Griffith, when he was on Broadway, he used to do a thing, and thing was football, football, football. In the South, we love our football, and he would do. He used to do that on stage in New York in the 1950s. There's always been, and if you look at the pros, most of those guys, man, all of the top guys, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. Period. Period. Think about that.
Why is it just the winning tradition?
It's
Is
just
it
it's a it's a religion down there, Chris. It's just a religion. We wouldn't know where Kiln, Mississippi was if it wasn't for one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And if you saw Kiln, Mississippi, it's kind of like Donaldsonville, Louisiana, right? You know who came out of Kiln?
the only quarterback from Mississippi that I know is Brett Favre, so I'm going to
Brett
guess Brett
Favre.
Favre.
Yeah. New Orleans, Louisiana. Newman School was we played them in the playoffs, right? Because they were in a different double A. Newman School is double A. There were 2 Super Bowl MVPs out of the school I coached in New Orleans, Newman School. That's a double A school. You got the 2 Mannings. And the third Manning, Cooper's son, is now tearing it up over at Texas. Go on.
There's one more from Newman.
Who's that?
Giants wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. Well, I guess he's not a Giant anymore, right? He ended with the Ravens.
I don't know where he is now, but
yeah. He was with the Dolphins last year, apparently.
Yeah, listen, Newman is a double A school. People go, oh, you were just in double A? Newman was double A. We always played them in regionals and everything, baseball, football, everything. We had, you had to go through Newman to get.
Omar Douglas too. Man, the Giants like drafting receivers out of Newman School.
Well, when you got the Mannings throwing to these kids, at some point you're gonna, you got every college scout down there at a double A school watching people, right?
Yeah,
that's the way that works. Interesting, right? But yeah, you get to Florida and you get those 5A schools, and you get yourself Andrew Fiducia giving you ultrasalt. Boom.
It's crazy to think about how when you dedicate yourself to something, there's still levels, right? You can be the best athlete in your county, in your state, in your region, and still get your butt kicked by someone else. It's crazy that there's still levels to that, right? You can be a top 1% wide receiver and never see a play in college, at least in a D1 situation.
Well, look, Brady was a fine example of that. The guy never really got a clean start in college. He was always the second guy at Michigan, right? And he's now the GOAT. Remember that kid that had a flash a few years ago, DeVito? With
the Giants.
Yeah. I have photos of him with our vitamins in his hand, holding them up to the camera. And with the other guy, the defensive guy, I can't pronounce his name. Ofafalu or something. Oh, I can't remember the guy's name. I'm not even getting close enough for Chris to figure it out.
Is he a Giants defender?
No, he's somewhere else. Maybe he's with the Giants. He was playing. He was playing in the playoffs, deep into the playoffs this last year, so he couldn't have been with the Giants.
Was he with the Jags?
Maybe.
Linebacker?
No, DB. Oh, man, I wish I could remember that. But I got pictures of him with Pure Vitamin Club vitamins in his hand. And a lot of these guys, you would be shocked at how many of these guys take my vitamins. Chris knows that because you know who we send them to.
Well, so you brought up Tommy Cutlets a minute ago, Tommy DeVito,
Yeah.
and when his agent knew he was going to get to start the next week, the first call that he made was not to Tommy. It was to you to
Yeah.
call me to send Ultra Salt to New York.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it, folks. True story. You know, that is weird that I have major pro managers calling me. You know, they manage these players going, "Hey, my guy's getting the start. Get get more vitamins to him." Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts, and and of course, that's the guy they were showing in the stands. They were showing my guy in the stands because he was wearing the Italian hat and he had the Italian horn and the whole thing. Should we mention his name? Should we mention who he is? He's becoming like a super agent.
You mean Sean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sean is becoming a super agent at this point. And
Well,
but
he's always specialized in the underdog, right? That's what his niche was. It was people who got overlooked.
But now he gets, because of that, he gets the top talent, right? And every time, like, he'll call me and he'll go, "Hey, can you send vitamins to?" And when we send vitamins, folks, we send everything to these guys. We send just the whole thing: zinc, vitamin C, because they're always right on the edge of getting sick. We send the multivitamin, we send the ultra salt by the ton. And a lot of these guys will hold it up in social media and go, "Hey, these are my vitamins." And we don't have any kind of deal saying, "Hey, you got to hold those things up on camera." Right? But they do, which means they love the product, which is kind of nuts, right?
Well, so I'm looking at this. Did you know Tommy Cutlets was the only quarterback on the Giants depth chart as of the end of March?
Really?
Yeah.
Are they is he going to be on the show again, you think?
Well, so they still had, I think he was the only person they re-signed. And they
New Orleans
they were
could
still
really
working
use
on
that kid.
Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson, right?
Oh,
But
God. Hey, look, Winston came on strong at the end of the season, and I was pissed off because he was a flop in New Orleans. Of course, he was running backwards all the time because their line was like paper mache. But New Orleans still doesn't have a quarterback.
well, that's for all the Giants fans out there. If you want to see how bad your offensive line really is, look at how well Saquon did with a decent offensive line versus how well he did and still did well with no offensive line in New York. But yeah, it's like watching a quarterback and a running back be the only two players on the field. That's what's
Hey,
watching the
Sean,
Giants
send
offense.
DeVito down to New Orleans, please. Please. We need something down there. We have nothing. We have nothing. We just opened up money because we got rid of, the guy who I said was a loser from the beginning. Unbelievable. We had Winston there for a while. He couldn't do anything. Now he's doing everything. Unbelievable.
Well, you picked didn't you guys pick up Tyler Shaw?
Yeah, we picked up a guy he's injury prone, but we also picked up a lineman, right? But we need an offensive line. Look, even that loser quarterback we had could have done something if the line could have given him at least another 1.5 seconds to at least set up so that he can, dump the ball off if he had to. But when you're
Block
running
somebody,
backwards,
anybody.
look, when you're running backwards and you don't even, get to do a check down, you're gonna end up where the Saints are. I didn't mean to talk about football here, folks. I know you listen for a different reason, but Chris, recently, speaking of driving, did I talk about that? I was going through the South. I was thinking of Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, that's how we got to Jimmy Buffett, I think.
Yeah. Well, let's get back on track. So a lot of times people will say to me, we hear about it in the VIP group. Well, then I drive. I drive for a living. I'm driving all the time. I drive. I can't eat, I go into the gas stations. I can't eat right. I can't do anything right. Right. Well, I just drove. It's 15 hours each way. And as you know, Chris, I do it straight. I get up, I start driving. 15 hours later, I'm there. And the only time I stop for two reasons. I have to stop twice for gas because my car goes about 300 60 or so miles on a tank if I top it off. So I'll leave on a full tank, so I have to stop twice. And every now and again, I'll pull off the side of the road at a rest stop. I don't even go in. I just pee next to a car and get back on the road. I like to get there, right? It's just the way I do it. My diet in the car. So before I left that morning, I had 6 eggs that I had boiled the night before. I also peeled the eggs. I put all 6 of them in the Ziploc bag and sprinkled some salt on top. Before I left the house, I ate 2 of them. And I drank some of my kefir. Now, you might say, well, wait, kefir. Folks, I now have raw milk kefir. So as you know, I've been on this raw milk kick. As soon as I tried it, I loved it. So then I bought some, this company also sells kefir, but they run out every week. So I could never get the kefir. So I just went out and bought some, it's called kefir grains. No, it's not
Vinnie,
a grain.
what is kefir or kefir for people who don't know?
It's runny yogurt. It's like a more
drinkable
powerful,
yogurt.
yeah, it's a more powerful yogurt too. There's
Thick
more
milk? Is that a better?
sour milk. It's buttermilk that went even worse, right? And I love the taste of it. But you buy it in the store, number one, it's homogenized and pasteurized and everything else. So I was like, wait a minute, I don't really drink milk, but I can buy this milk and get their kefir. Well, they would always run out. So I went, wait, I got the milk that I'm not drinking. Let me just get some kefir pellets and just make my own kefir. It only takes about 12 hours, Chris. It doesn't take that long. So, first you have to activate these pellets, right? These what they're calling grains. You have to bring them up to snuff. And you're wasting, and I did that. They said to do it with whole, real homogenized milk, not raw milk, to bring it up. And I did, and I started making kefir. I brought a jug. This is a brand new jug. It's still milk, right? But it makes about 4 cups. That's 4 cups in here, in this big giant jug, right? So you put the pellets in there. You just let it sit on the counter. 12 to 15 hours later, you keep checking. Once it gets gooey in there, you got kefir. So that morning with my 2 eggs, I drank some kefir. I took the rest of it, a jug just like that, put it in my my little Playmate ice chest to keep it nice and chilly. And throughout the day, I finished the other 4 eggs. I drank a couple of sips of kefir. And I had coffee. Now, as you know, it's summertime, so I'm making iced coffee again. So I took my iced coffee concentrate with me so I can have some for on the way back. But I took a 24-ounce, one of those, kind of like this, one of these stainless steel things. I put
Tumbler?
about, yeah, but it was like 25 ounce. It was the Stanley one. All the women like now, it's got the handle on it with the Stanley. Yeah. So I filled that thing up. I put about 2.5 inches of the coffee concentrate on the bottom, and then I filled it up with soda water to the top. And I sipped on that. That's all the coffee I had all day long, because you drink too much coffee on the road. You're just sitting there. You got to pee more. That's all I had, folks. I had 4 eggs in 15 hours. I had a couple of sips of kefir, excuse me, and a bunch of sips of coffee. I was fine. I got to my brother's house around 10 o'clock that night, brushed my teeth, went to bed. No problem, right? On the return trip, same thing. I let that kefir sit in the fridge. I didn't touch it for the 3 days I was there so I can have something on the way out. I bought some more eggs. I cooked 6 of them, 2 before I left, 4 on the way home, reversed the whole thing. I had energy all day. I felt good all day, no problem. No, I'm falling asleep on the road, because when you don't eat junk, you don't get a blood rush, you don't come back down. You just have even energy. When you're fat adapted, you can have that energy all day long, right? And by the way, I was drinking water too, and I took a couple of ultra salts throughout the day. I always have a bottle in the car, just like my boy Andrew. I bet you if Andrew drove, he would have a bottle in his car. The guy's a big believer. But that was my trip, right? That was my trip.
And that's the thing, like, it doesn't have to be hard. And I think it's actually easier if you're doing it straight through, because then you're not tempted to say, okay, I'm gonna, hole up in this hotel for the night. What can I find that's right here and open at 9:45 or whatever? But even if you are stopping, you can still just bring whatever you need with you for that next morning. So in your case, Vinny, you'd probably bring a few more hard-boiled eggs, maybe some pre-cooked bacon or bacon jerky, and a handful of those kinds of things. And then you don't have to think about it. You just get in the car in the morning and go.
Yeah.
Or you make I almost said make hard-boiled eggs, but you would already have them boiled. So you just peel them, eat them, and then get in the car and go. And it's really not an issue.
Yeah. And it works like a charm. We don't have to make it any more difficult than that. Right. And look, I mean, there are other things you want to get stuff like carnivore bars or something like that. We have ultra fat. I could have sat here and lied to you and said, hey, I brought my ultra fat and ate it the whole way. I didn't bring any. I had some ultra fats with me. I didn't eat any on the road, but I did have some while I was down there because I went out to the swamp with my brother out to his camp, and I used some of the ultra fats there, right? Because when you go out to these camps, it's easy to get in trouble. Really easy to get in trouble with eating junk and this and that and the whole thing. We're out on jet skis all day, playing around, having fun. And if I got peckish, just hit an ultra fat, no problem. And I've had trips where I've used ultra fats on the trip just to prove that you can eat that all day long and keep even energy and do it that way. I've done that in the past, and I've talked about it on this show, right? But on this trip, that's what I had. I did the eggs and the kefir, and it was just fine. Period.
Nice.
Yeah.
How's the kefir treating you, by the way? You've been doing that like 3 weeks now?
Yeah, for a bit. I like it so much better than the kefir I would get from the store because I can make it stronger, right? Mine has a lot of gas that ends up in it, meaning the fizzy. I learned how to do that. If you put a tight top on it like this, I keep the top really tight. The gas, whenever the bacteria eats up the sugar in milk. Right. So you have a 30 to 35% reduction in sugar because it gets eaten up by the bacteria and it's creating more bacteria and it creates gas. Now, some people will put like a towel over the top and just put a rubber band around it because they don't like that fizzy taste in their kefir. I like the fact that gas goes back into it. It's kind of like, a fizzy drink, right?
Well, it makes you feel like you're drinking something special, right? It's kind of, you and I have talked in the past about kombucha. It's kind of like that, where it's like, okay, it's at least store-bought kombucha, probably not great, but the reason that you drink it is because it's something different and it has that tang, it has a little bit of carbonation. It's not overly carbonated, but it's a different flavor from just sitting there drinking water all day.
Kombucha is the next thing I'm going for. That's the next thing I'm doing. I'm into, as you know, I made it 17 years before I had to go back on chemo again. For anyone who's new to the show, I had cancer in 2007. They told me I would have to go on chemo within 5 years. I just went on a very low carb diet. I live in ketosis. I made it 17 years. Doctors can't explain it. Now, if I make it another 17 years, I'm going to be close to my 80th birthday. My deal is I'm trying to get the rest of my life without ever being on chemo again, right? So I'm adding in more kefir. I'm thinking about making my own kombucha because if you buy the stuff from Whole Foods, number one, it's super expensive and it's sugary. It's sweet. They got to make it taste good. Real kombucha, the stuff that I used to get from my buddy Mickey Hargitay, that he used to make it on his counter. He had that slimy thing on top of the whole thing. Man, that was strong kombucha. I'm doing everything I can to keep a lot of gut bacteria going, keeping myself even healthier so that hopefully I can now make it through to the end of my life without being on chemo again. And besides, I like kombucha. And Chris, we're going to make that the final word here today.
Let's do it.
We're going to stop on that. Folks, go check out everything we're doing. At some point, we're going to open up the VIP group again. I also have phone calls. You guys want to talk to me live? Yeah, it's me. It's not someone else. It's me. You can go to VinnieTortorich.com and click on that. when you go to VinnieTortorich.com, if you go there before you ever go to Amazon, because it, click through the banner, it puts a little coal on the fire, it gets my train down the track. It doesn't cost you anything extra. Rate and review this podcast. You might want to hang around because we're going to play a different Jimmy Buffett song here on the way out, one of my favorites. So on behalf of Chris Shaffer, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and be a parrot head.